All right, it's not freezing cold anymore. We're back on the motorcycle. I figured today would be a good day because I just listed the bike on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist to do a little bit of a review of the bike. And I'll just talk through some stuff as I ride and just try to summarize things well for the next owner. So I bought this bike in September. Actually, it was August 31st of 2021. So many months ago at this point. My first motorcycle ever. Obviously the Honda Rebel is a great beginner bike. As many YouTube videos will tell you, it's a fantastic beginner bike. And obviously that's why I bought it. I wanted something approachable. I rode a cruiser during my MSF course, so it seemed natural to just pick up the quintessential beginner bike and go from there. It's got, you know, today is like December 27th or 28th, something like that. It has 4,725 miles on it. About to have more, obviously. And it's been fantastic. I've done a bunch of improvements to the bike. Obviously, gear position indicator was a big one. 12-volt accessory socket. The T-Rex engine guards. I did a LED headlight bulb in there. There's a luggage rack on the back, which I'll show you later. And there's some passenger pegs and the Honda OEM passenger pegs and seat. And then obviously the big seat upgrade, which is the Corbin custom seat that I put on the bike. So as we're cruising along here, what can you expect out of this bike? Well, Honda reliability. I've never had a problem with this bike not starting or just doing exactly what I wanted it to do. You know, obviously I've been a beginner. I do a lot of slow speed practice to improve my skills, and I've dropped the bike a couple times. There's a couple cosmetic things, but those things are very minor. Those cosmetic things are super minor, and they're only the result of a few drops at low speeds. So there's some marks on the engine guards. They did their job. There's some marks on the exhaust. There's a 50% chance that the next owner is going to replace the exhaust anyway, so I'm not super concerned about that. And then there's a little bit of a mark there on the right grip. There's a little bit of a mark on the right brake lever, and there's a little scuffing on the exterior of the mirror. Everything's fully functional. There's if I hadn't pointed it out, you probably wouldn't notice a lot of that stuff, but just wanted to be totally transparent about that. Stuff that I love about this bike, it's super predictable. The handling is fantastic. It's very easy to maneuver this bike. Big, wide, fat tires are really predictable. It's very round curvature to the tire, so the handling and the turn-in is very consistent and predictable. It's a light bike. It's like 415 something pounds wet and ready to ride, so it's a pretty light bike. It doesn't have ABS. It has no rider modes or traction control or anything like that, so, you know, obviously be aware. It's a really easy bike to ride. It's very simple. It's very basic. It forces you to really learn the basics of motorcycling without relying too heavily on electronics to save your behind. So anyway, there's a lot this bike can do. There's some things this bike is not going to be great for. I don't think it's going to be great for super long hauls. Unless you're shorter than 5'6" or 5'7", I don't think you're going to be super comfortable on this bike for long periods of time. I'm 5'11", and I find myself wanting to get off of the bike at about an hour hour and 20 minutes, then I'm like, I'm ready for a break. My butt's a little sore. Gas mileage is amazing. I would absolutely say that if you're looking for a great in-town bike that'll be easy on the wallet, this bike regularly and easily gets well over 60 miles to the gallon. 65 if you're if you're riding pretty conservatively, and I would say 60 if you're getting on it a little bit. Maintenance wise, I've done all the maintenance myself, kind of religiously cleaned the chain and done all the cable maintenance and oil changes as prescribed per the service manual, even a little bit sooner in some cases. The bike was recently checked out in November of 2022 by Cycle Refinery, and they gave it a super great clean bill of health. There was nothing wrong with it. They ended up changing the front and rear tire. I needed to do that because I actually took this bike and did a track day at Circuit of the Americas. But they said everything looks perfect on the bike, and it's ready to go for a really, really long time. So I'm really happy and very confident that this bike will perform incredibly well for the next owner. So why am I selling it? I alluded to it previously, but I think there are going to be more comfortable bikes for me out there. I am, like I said, I'm 5'11", and I'm pretty cramped up on this thing with the mid controls. I basically need a physically larger bike. I also want a different style bike. That's not saying that I don't appreciate the Rebel for all that it is, kind of a naked cruiser, sporty naked cruiser. But I think something more like a standard naked bike is going to suit me a little bit better. Something that's a little bit bigger, something that's a little more powerful. I definitely want to do more track days in the future. And so just looking to swap out for a bit of a bigger bike. Things that I am including with this bike, you're going to get obviously the bike and all the accessories that I'm going to show you when we do the walk around. You're also going to get a bike cover. You're also going to get a basically a rear swing arm stand, so you can do kind of chain maintenance and oil changes and stuff a little bit easier. You don't need that necessarily, but it makes life a little bit easier when you're doing maintenance. The battery charger, so that I have a plug-in battery tender that plugs into a port installed on the bike that keeps the battery in tip-top shape. You'll get that as well. So basically everything that I've purchased that is specific to the bike, I'm going to include with the bike to make it as attractive a deal and as turnkey a solution as possible. Things that you might want to consider doing to the bike as the next owner, understanding that, you know, a lot of stuff is currently done. You may consider forward controls. That's a major upgrade that people do for the Revels. They do forward controls to make it a little more cruisery and push your feet forward about 5 inches, 4 or 5 inches. And then it has a stock exhaust, so you may consider putting an aftermarket slip-on system on it just to customize it a little bit more. But other than that, you could do mirrors, you could do grips, you could put on heated grips, you could just change the style of the grips. The bike has plenty of power for the highway. In fact, why don't we blast on up to 2222 and do a nice turnaround. But yeah, plenty. I'm in 6th gear, full roll on now, 70 and still pulling. Easy. Yeah, this bike will cruise all day at 75 miles an hour, no problem. Yeah, it's the perfect amount of power for around town. enough to get you excited, but not enough to get you in trouble, which is perfect for a beginner motorcycle. It is, this bike has kept me out of so much trouble just by its handling characteristics and its power characteristics. It's been perfect as a beginner bike, and I would highly recommend it to anybody looking to get into motorcycling. There's a reason that the Honda Rebel is the de facto starter bike for so many people. It's because it's fantastic. I mean, I've been able to get by with this. I've been able to do track day with this on one of the best racetracks in the world, and the bike handled it. Bike takes anything you throw at it. I've had to do some off-roading with it, light off-roading, mind you, but like, it'll go on a gravel road, it'll kind of go anywhere you need it to, and it'll take the abuse if you decide to abuse it, and come back for more without blinking an eye. With that, let's get to one of my favorite spots in Austin, and I can hop off the bike and do a little bit of a walk around and show you the bike from a first-person perspective, not sitting on it. So let's go do it. All right, so this is it, my 2019 Honda Rebel 500. It's a non-ABS version of the bike. It has 4,750 miles. It's a fully manual bike. There's no electronics, there's no rider modes. It's cable operated throttle, cable operated clutch. And here she is. Let's do a quick walk around of the bike and a lot of the improvements that I made to it. So let's point those out. You'll see a bunch of straps all over the bike. So this is a GV luggage rack or top case rack. I have rock straps on here. That's why you see my bag that I carry everywhere with me on it. So I've done obviously the custom Corbin seat, the Gunfighter and Lady seat in the two-tone brown with the orange accents. It pulls that orange through the bike a little bit better. I've added the T-Rex racing engine guards. I've added a gear position indicator and an LED headlight bulb. But apart from that, those have really been the upgrades that I've made. This strap is just for my airbag vest that I usually wear, so that will not be coming with the bike. Yeah, it's been a great bike. Obviously, as I pointed out and I mentioned earlier, there's a little bit of rash here on the right throttle grip, and there's a little bit of a rash here, a little bit of road rash here on the right lever, a little bit of scraping and scuffing here on the mirror. There's some scuffing and scraping here on the engine guard. There's nothing on the other side. And then there's some scraping and scuffing here on the exhaust, which I've taken and I've kind of touched up as well to minimize the appearance of that, which actually works pretty well. I'm happy to pass on that trick of the trade to the next owner. But yeah, it's in great shape. The paint is in perfect condition. No scratches or dents or dings in the tank. The frame is in perfect condition. The engine, everything's in perfect condition with the exception of some of the high wear areas. So you'll see down here there's some kind of rubbing from where my boot sits, and it kind of moves back and forth on the controls. There's a little bit of that on the other side. The 12 volt power socket is an upgrade. That's OEM Honda, as well as the passenger pegs are OEM Honda, and the original seat and the passenger seat will also come with the bike, and all the bolts, everything that I have for the bike will come with it. So I may keep these rock straps because those are incredibly useful, but we could talk about that. Anyway, it's in the garage all the time. The tires have just a ton of tread life left in them. These are basically brand new tires. So it's I mean, less than 5,000 miles. This bike has got endless miles left in it. Let's say that instead. Brake pads have a lot of life left in them, and no other issues with the bike. It's perfect. It has no issues that I know of, or the mechanics that have looked at that know of either. So it's all good to go. It's very, very basic, which is kind of nice actually. There's not a whole lot of distraction when you're riding. So this is kind of your default view. You've got odometer, speed, which can be set to miles per hour or kilometers per hour. You've got a clock, which can be 12 or 24 hours, and you've got a gas gauge. That's pretty much it. You have a oil light, check engine light, neutral light, and temperature. So why don't we actually just there's your neutral. Let's fire the bike up. There we go. And the gear position indicator is only active when you let the clutch out. The gear position indicator will activate basically on release of the clutch. So, for example, let's go into first. So I'm rolling on the throttle, I'm letting the clutch out. It says nothing yet. First gear, right? So when the clutch is held in, it'll often say just this dash line. So just a heads up on the gear position indicator. Let's get back into neutral. Menus are basically, there's really no menus. Trip A, trip B, cycle with odometer, trip A, trip B, odometer. Hold it in, and then you'll start to cycle through your clock. 12 hour, 24 hour. You would hold it down to confirm. Hold it down, 09, hold it down, confirm 209, and then this is the brightness of the backlight. So I usually just keep that all the way up. Actually, one down, confirm. It should then flash miles per hour. You can switch it to kilometers per hour. I keep it, since we're in the States, miles per hour. There you go, that's it. There's nothing else that you can really adjust on the bike. It's very simple. Oh, I forgot to mention, this connector, this battery connector, came with the bike. It'll go with the bike, as well as a Optimate battery tender, kind of plug into the wall and keeps the battery in tip-top shape while you're not riding the bike. Hopefully this was helpful. If you're interested in the bike, reach out, let me know. I'm happy to meet up anywhere in Austin to let you ride it with cash in hand and a motorcycle endorsement on your license. If you're a new rider and you don't have your endorsement yet, we can still meet up and I can still show you the bike. But obviously you can't ride it until I have until I see that M endorsement and I have cash in hand with an agreement to buy the bike if anything goes wrong during that test ride. Yeah, other than that, pretty simple, pretty easy. Let me know if you have questions. I'm happy to provide more photos or more context or answer any additional questions about the bike.